It's something that we have had to be very careful of. We remain huge fans of Kusama, and we want to see the best way forward for Kusama. Will we have a devastating climate event in the next 20 years? I know a lot of US users are like, yo, what about decentralization, man? It's not about regulation and compliance. It's all about decentralization and being a sovereign individual. We're specifically focused on the outcome aspect of these economics. Yeah, absolutely excellent question, Claudio. That is imperative for us to be thinking about, and we are. That is a great question.
Hello and welcome to KryptosChain. My name is Claudio and joining me today is James, who's running marketing and communications at Zeitgeist. He's here to talk about Zeitgeist, which is a parachain. Used to be on Kusama, but now they're on Polkadot. So I was going to talk about that as well because I am curious to learn more. I'm sure you are too. So James, thank you very much for taking the time to join. First of all, I want to get to know you a bit better. So can you give us a bit of background about yourself? How did you get started into crypto to begin with? What attracted you?
Sure, man. Thanks, Claudio. It's great to be here, and I really appreciate your work and what you've done for the ecosystem so far. So my background is in media. I started in radio very, very early, studied marketing, and then headed towards writing and became a reporter, started to focus on technology purely because I have an optimistic mindset. So I really believe that hope is a powerful thing that can make the world a better place. And I sort of have this fundamental optimism that led me to be very interested in technology. I mean, I've always been the tech guy at home. As a kid, was always the guy, setting up the video games and the Commodore 64 and the VCR and all of that kind of stuff. And that interest in technology allowed me to write for a couple of publications. And that writing led me to Bitcoin back in 2013. I had done a bit of research into the financial system. Obviously, after 2008, I became very interested in economics. And as an optimist, was obviously like, this can't happen again. How do we prevent it? That led me onto Bitcoin. It was around about 2013. I wrote my first piece on Bitcoin. I bought my first Bitcoin in 2014 and stayed in my lane of just marketing and communications and media reporting. But then in 2017, with the craze of the bull run, it went so wild that I was actually offered to run the largest community in South Africa for crypto. It was called SA Crypto, very simple. And I took that over. So with it, we grew it into South Africa's largest news agency for the industry. Really proud of that. We expanded into what is now known as global crypto. And that was just a great period in my life. And then hooked up with Hutch in early 2021. Just over 2 years ago, and they were looking for someone to head up their marketing and communications, and I was very, very excited to join that team. I mean, Logan, David, and Hutch are gigabrains in the industry, and what they were building is amazing. I am absolutely amazed at what prediction markets can do and what they have already done, and so when that opportunity came up, I jumped at it with two hands. So that's my journey through crypto to where I am today, and just love the Polkadot ecosystem. Had always known about Polkadot, and when this opportunity arose and I dived headfirst into the ecosystem, I've been blown away by this, by what was known as the .sama ecosystem, and now less so, because obviously Kusama is sort of in a gray area, a sort of transitional phase at the moment. So you could just say the Polkadot ecosystem, but I love it. I mean, this ecosystem is a powerful ecosystem, one of the best in the entire industry. And I'm just absolutely loving the journey so far, man.
Absolutely. Love to hear that. That's a lot of positivity about Polkadot. Normally, when I talk to people who are outside of the Polkadot ecosystem, they're a bit like, not so much. It's hard to convince them. You need to show them all the different pros and less of the cons. Obviously, everything has pros and cons, right? There's no perfect ecosystem, but given that, Ethereum is struggling to upgrade and to progress, I mean, Polkadot has done so much, right? It's just the lack of users, I think, which is kind of hurting it, from my opinion. So I do need to ask you, like, why Polkadot? Like, what attracted you to Polkadot specifically and not Cosmos, for example? Because Cosmos did start before.
Yeah, but back then Cosmos was a lot less prominent than it is now. Polkadot was huge. I think I don't actually know the dates, but if I recall correctly, I think the Polkadot ICO was first, and again I stand corrected on that, but that generated a lot of interest. So I obviously knew about this project Polkadot. I knew about Gavin's sort of origin journey in the blockchain industry, and yeah, it was just it was a sort of chance online connection with Hutch that got us talking into a position where I was like, you know what you guys are building is amazing. And hearing Logan's vision for Polkadot is something that really sold me. I mean, so obviously I was very, very aware of the Ethereum ecosystem, and knowing how Logan had previously been working on Ethereum DeFi projects, and he sort of hit a brick wall and decided, you know what, he can't do what he wants to do on Ethereum. He needed to look elsewhere, and Polkadot provided that answer. For me, that was like, if people like Logan are making that shift, then this is an ecosystem that I can buy into. This is technology that I can buy into. And it's one of those situations where it's like, only when you jump in, is it suddenly, are you suddenly aware of how powerful an ecosystem is? And that is unfortunate, because from the outside, you can't actually appreciate just how important a technology is. And I think that's a challenge that Polkadot has right now. And obviously Parity they focus so much on trying to be compliant. And I think the downside of being so compliant is that the marketing has taken a bit of a knock. Yeah. So I understand why they're doing that. They're playing the long game, and that's fair. So yeah, I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, thank you. No, absolutely. So you are a Bitcoin OG as well. That's interesting. Like 2013, that's a long time. So you're with the big guys, Tone Vase, Plan B as well, and all those guys, right? Jimmy Woo.
Yeah. I mean, completely. Like, have spent time with people like Tone Vase, Max Kaiser, Stacy Herbert, and I don't like to say this on video, but the reality is where they've gone in the last 2 to 3 years is a place that I'm not on the same train as that, like it was just weird to see the Bitcoiners blockchainers split. Yeah, it was about 2 or 3 years ago. So yeah, but very much so. I mean, I've been around for a while in this industry. I can't believe how much has happened if you look back, it's only been 8-9 years that I've been interested in it. I mean, I really got involved in 2014, 2015. 2013 is when I first heard about it. But yeah, I mean, so 2014, 2015, that's 9 years. I mean, I bought my first Bitcoin in 2014. So yeah, 9 years, man.
Now let's talk about Zeitgeist. So you work with Zeitgeist. It is a parachain on Polkadot. It used to be a parachain on Kusama. I'm going to ask you why the switch after, but first, what is Zeitgeist? If you could please summarize it for anyone that hasn't heard of Zeitgeist before.
Okay, so it's a prediction markets protocol. Simple as that. We have built a prediction markets application that allows anyone to create and deploy and leverage prediction markets, right? So we have a great SDK that anyone can leverage and utilize and build their own prediction markets applications on top of. And the next question, if I'm having a conversation with someone, what are prediction markets? Because a lot of people have never heard of that. The easiest way to describe a prediction market is that it is really just like a decentralized exchange, or it is an exchange, right? And you have assets that are being traded. It's a prediction market because each asset is an outcome. And so we can trade on the outcome of anything. Will this interview get over 500 views? Yes or no, right? So 2 outcomes, yes or no, become 2 assets. So when you can go onto our application, create a prediction market for this very thing. And when you create those outcomes, you're creating assets. So it's in and of itself, it's almost like a layer 1 blockchain where someone can come in the same way with Ethereum back in 2017. Anyone could create their own asset. Now you can come in onto our platform, create your own assets, and then trade on those assets being outcomes. So we're specifically focused on the outcome aspect of these economics, because it really is, a prediction market is pure economic incentives. It's human psychology at play. People deep inside are not going to bet or buy yes, this video is going to go over 500 views, if deep inside they know it's not going to hit 500 views. And that's what prediction markets do. They allow for forecasts to be created that are incredibly accurate, without needing statisticians, without needing analysts and data analysts analyzing all the data, right? Yeah. The market does that for you. And that's why prediction markets are so powerful. And that's what we're really interested in. We're interested in the data that prediction markets creates. So we want to create this really smooth UI, this incredibly smooth UX, and efficient application where prediction markets are running smoothly. But once we've got that down, the focus is the data that those prediction markets can create. Data like, will we have a devastating climate event in the next 20 years? Will there be another global health pandemic? Really big things that we can actually start to forecast. But first, the foundation is to build a really smooth prediction market application. There are other things on top of that, which is governance via prediction markets, which we're really excited about as well, which is known as futarchy, but we can get into that later. So I hope that is as good a summary as I can provide, man. Sorry, sometimes I can be too long-winded. So
when you are saying the 500 views bit on the video, that also depends on the time frame, right? So by when is the big question, because maybe within 24 hours a video may get like 150, 200 views, but maybe come a week down the line, 2 weeks, you may see 500, 600 or more, depending if there's interest, or if the people that haven't had a chance to watch are now watching it. So I think the time frame is key there with prediction markets, which is something that I know Zeitgeist has integrated as well. So I do need to ask you now, because these prediction markets can also be seen kind of like betting. Could that be like a legal challenge in the sense of being considered gambling in some way as well? Have you encountered that? And if you could please talk about that.
Yeah, we have encountered that. It is a touchy subject, unfortunately. It's the reality. It's treated a little bit more like trading and trading cryptocurrencies, sort of the way crypto is viewed, than it is betting and gambling. It's something that we have had to be very careful of. So in terms of the USA, for instance, their regulation is extremely strict and stringent. So we've actually just said, to protect ourselves, we are not allowed to market to the US market. We're not allowed to bring USA users onto our platform, and that's an unfortunate thing. I know a lot of US users are like, yo, what about decentralization, man? It's not about regulation and compliance. It's all about decentralization and being a sovereign individual. We have encountered a number of regulatory challenges, but we're focused on overcoming them. So we want to work with the regulators, and it also depends on each jurisdiction. Certain jurisdictions don't mind prediction markets. There have been a number of prediction markets built on Web 2 technologies that operated outside of the USA. And those have been fairly successful. And we want to work with regulators that are pro innovative technologies, and prediction markets are indeed innovative technologies. So yeah, is it betting? Technically it is. We can't deny that. Currently we have a couple of sports markets up. Who's going to win the Manchester City versus Arsenal Community Shield match?
Exactly.
You are taking a bet. I'm betting. When I say Manchester City will, and I buy Manchester City assets, technically I'm betting on that. And so we do need to be as careful as possible to ensure that we remain as compliant as possible as well.
Now, to get more into that, like how does it actually work, in the sense that if you create a prediction market, what options can you give the users? Like, can you, like, say, for example, I want to, like you were talking about the football match there. One of the questions would be, who's going to win in this match, Arsenal or the other team? Then it's just a simple pick and choose, right, between between the two. But what if there's going to be a draw? Like, is it possible to choose that third option as well? And if so, like, how would it work then from a user perspective who wants to take part in this prediction market? What do they need to do? Do they need the Zeitgeist for that, like the ZTG coin? And if so, how does it actually work?
Sure, yeah. So that's a great question with regards to the various outcomes. So for sure, we can create as many outcomes as we want, and there are a number of formats of prediction markets as well. There are binary prediction markets, categorical prediction markets, and there are scalar prediction markets as well. Scalar prediction markets are really interesting. We've actually seen those work really well on our platform. But I'll start with your standard sort of categorical prediction markets. There's a category. So, for instance, the football again, Manchester City versus Arsenal, we could indeed say a Manchester City win, Arsenal win, or a draw, right? We could even add more assets like it will be a victory in a penalty shootout. It'll be a victory in extra time, whatever, so that could be as many as 5 assets for one football match. And that's the great thing. So we can create as many assets as you want. We're currently working on a prediction market for the Rugby World Cup, and there are, got to get my sport right, but I think there are 32 or 24, let's say there's 24. There's 24 teams currently competing for the Rugby World Cup. So we could technically give 24 options. We're not going to, because the reality is it's only going to come out of the top 10 at the very least, most likely top 6, right? So let's say we choose the top 10 though. What we would do is we'd spread our liquidity out over those top 10 assets, each team being a different outcome asset. And then what happens is the sum of the price of those assets will always come to 100, giving us a nice indication. We can actually get a percentage indication as to who's going to win, right? So you have the 10 different teams, and let's say New Zealand are going to be the favorites. The price of their asset could be 60 cents, and the sum of all the assets is $1, giving us an outcome of they have a 60% chance of winning the Rugby World Cup.
Right.
So that's a categorical market. Scalar market is a little bit more interesting. So currently, for instance, we have one. What is the combined market cap going to be of Kusama and Polkadot, right? I think it's at the end of 2023. And so we have a scalar market, and then we set on a scale a range, a certain range. I think it's between $1 and $10 billion. And then you can either long or short. You can take a long or a short. And depending on how many people buy a long versus how many people buy a short, our market maker is able to, our automated market maker algorithm is able to determine where on the scale those longs and shorts are sitting. You might have more shorts than longs, and you sort of get close to, well, it's going to be $2 billion. If this side is, my right hand is representing $10 billion and my left hand is representing $1 billion, and it's down here, all the shorts are down here, then the algorithm is providing data that it's going to be around about $2 billion. And that's a really cool thing about scalar markets.
Interesting.
By longing and shorting that asset, you can actually see where a certain outcome is going to be on the scale, and you can start to get really interesting figures out of those. And then to come to your question about actual predictions, so for them, they would need to get either DOT or ZTG, our utility token. At the moment, they have to have ZTG, even if they are making predictions in DOT, because you pay a few fees in ZTG. We are actually working on being able to pay fees in DOT as well. But for now, get ZTG. You can get ZTG on Hydra's Omnipool, Hydra DX. You can get ZTG on Gate as well. And then on our platform, we offer the ability to trade in DOT or ZTG. Before we create the market, we decide if it's going to be a Polkadot market or a ZTG market. And obviously, if we are deploying the liquidity, or if a user is deploying the liquidity, there is a cost involved. Whoever the liquidity provider is, there is a cost involved. That liquidity provider is going to be affected by the various trading of the outcome assets, and so they might lose a fair percentage of the amount of liquidity that they've provided. And so if they're providing it in DOT, they might be a little bit less inclined to provide liquidity, whereas if they're providing it in ZTG, then they might be a bit more inclined. So yeah, we have markets in ZTG and we have markets in DOT. It's very simple. Users would come on board, they would connect their Web3 wallet, Polkadot.js, Nova wallet, Sub wallet, Talisman, any one of those Web3 substrate based wallets. And once they're connected, if they have DOT in their account, they can actually then transfer that DOT over to our chain. So you obviously need to teleport it like you would do an XCM transfer on HydraDX. And then from there, once you have DOT on our chain, you can then go ahead and make predictions. We have about 6 markets that are denominated in DOT. If you don't have ZTG, you can do the same thing on HydraDX. I mean, so we basically have a built-in transfer mechanism where users can transfer between ZTG and DOT on our app. And we are currently working on being able to transfer your DOT for ZTG on the app. But at the moment, they need to go to HydraDX. So if you want ZTG and make a prediction on, say, will Putin still be the president of Russia by the end of 2023, you'll need ZTG for that market. So you'll need to get some ZTG from HydraDX. So if you have DOT, you simply go to HydraDX and you transfer your DOT for ZTG, send it over to your Zeitgeist wallet, and then from there you plug in and you can trade. Have I left anything out? Any other questions regarding being able to use the application?
No, I think you've covered everything there. I think that's pretty clear now. So in terms of payouts, how does it actually work? Let's go back to the football example. So assuming a user says, okay, I'm going to bet 100 ZTG that Arsenal are going to win. How much do they get back? How is that calculated? Does it use a pool or what does it, how does it work?
That's an important question and a great point. So that's the great thing about prediction markets. We call it profiting from your knowledge, right? Based on what you know or you understand, you can actually grow your wealth, right? If you have a whole bunch of DOT, but you know a lot about tennis, you know a lot about cycling, football, politics, whatever the case is, based on what you know, you can actually grow your positions. And so what do I mean by that? The current prediction for Manchester City versus Arsenal, I think, has Manchester City to win 60% versus 40%. If you want to buy one Manchester City asset, it's going to cost you 0.6 DOT. So you spend 0.6 DOT to get one. Let's say you want to buy 10. So you spend 6 DOT. You now have 10 Manchester City assets. At the end of the game, and Manchester City win, the Oracle will report that Manchester City won. And then if there are no disputes within a short period of time, then automatically the rewards are distributed and users simply need to log in to the app and click redeem. You redeem your winning outcomes, your winning tokens. So you started with 10 Manchester Cities. You only spent 6 DOT. You now convert those 10 Manchester Cities for 10 DOT. So each outcome asset is worth 1. Whatever it may be, 1 DOT, 1 ZTG. Each winning outcome asset is worth 1. And so that is the easiest way to profit on your knowledge. That's why prediction markets are so interesting. And it's a great way to grow your bag. You can buy a whole bunch of certain assets depending on what you think is going to happen. At the end of that specific event, you then wait for the result. If it's in your favor, you hit redeem and you can profit quite handsomely.
And is it limited to the number of assets you can purchase for a specific prediction?
So it does depend on the liquidity pool. So, and our algorithm does determine how much is available. So if you try and buy 100 Manchester Cities, it'll tell you, unfortunately, you won't be able to make that trade. It'll work out the maximum number of assets available in the liquidity pool. In terms of trading, if the liquidity is there, there's no limit to how many assets you can actually buy in an entire market. You could buy a whole bunch of Manchester Cities and a whole bunch of Arsenals. Obviously, that all depends. You've got to make a mathematical decision on how you do that. But there is a cap in terms of how much you can buy in a single trade because of the liquidity pool. We are looking at an order book format of trading on various markets. So at the moment, we have an automated marker algorithm which automates the liquidity and the price within each market. But we're looking at an order book. So in essence, you can just see how many assets are available at a specific price. Yeah. And so you can immediately say, well, I can only get 7 Manchester Cities at that specific price. Yeah. If I want more, it's going to cost me a little bit more.
That was going to be my next question. So if everyone just bets on Arsenal and there's no Manchester City in the pool, then that means that the asset price from Arsenal is going to drop. So when the third user comes, they're not going to be able to get it for 0.6 dot, right? It's going to be maybe 0.58 or 0.57 or lower. And then it keeps on dropping as more and more consistently bet on Manchester City, where it gets to a point that it's no longer profitable for them to do so. And that's where you get the user cap and the asset cap, right? Is my understanding correct here?
Yeah, 100%. And that's the essence of prediction markets. It's the more people buy the one asset, the lower the price the other asset goes down. Yeah. The higher the popular asset goes up in price, the less popular asset goes down in price. And you might get some whales on there who push the Manchester City price way up, and the Arsenal price is now super low. But then what will happen is it'll start to balance itself out, because users will come along and say, hang on a second, this price is way too low. I'm going to buy some of that because this is cheap money right here,
So they're gonna take the chance, because it could work in their favor as well.
Exactly, and that's why prediction markets are so dynamic and they are so intriguing in that way, because they work purely based on the economic incentive of the human brain. People come along, you might get whales, you might get inside information, inside traders, but at the end of the day, the market provides the clearest data, right? If you want to know if we're in a bull, you just have to look at standard economics. Are we in a bull market or a bear market? Well, the charts won't lie. That's what it comes down to. And the same goes for prediction markets, So if people try and manipulate the market, eventually it's going to balance itself out. And that's the beauty of this kind of application.
Now let's move on and talk about the Kusama to Polkadot migration. So what was the reason you decided to build on Kusama first, but not stay on Kusama? Or why not have like a canary network like a lot of the other parachain teams do, and then have a main network on a main parachain on Polkadot? What was the reason behind that?
Yeah, I mean, it's complex, the way businesses make decisions and they go about deploying their ideas and iterating their ideas. I think the great thing about Web3 teams is that they're very iterative. They don't build in the dark and then just put it out. They're always building in public and then iterating as they go. So we were always Kusama fanboys. So much so, Logan Sather, our CEO, was actually the dev. He was working at the Web3 Foundation, and he was actually the dev that deployed the Kusama runtime for the first time. And that's, not a lot of people know that. That's how deep into this ecosystem our team are. And he was extremely familiar with both networks, Polkadot and Kusama, and had a preference for Kusama's setup. Right, it's the governance model is a lot faster, so you can get a lot of things done quicker, and that was attractive. And so we wanted to deploy to Kusama first for those reasons. In terms of having a canary network, because the assets are live, it's a real asset. KSM is a real asset. We didn't want to run a canary network and a live network. We'd rather have a testnet with testnet tokens. So we ran a testnet on Rococo, and that was for us enough. We didn't need to have a canary and a live network, rather a testnet and a live network. And because we really loved Kusama, we were happy to just run on Kusama. That was the plan. We were very happy on Kusama. When we went live as an application, we were Kusama application. We were a parachain connected to the Kusama relay chain. But basically, the bear market started to change things. It was a combination of starting to see the liquidity of assets being made available on the Polkadot network versus the bear market. And what I mean by the bear market is parachain slots on Polkadot became very affordable. And that sort of made us raise our eyebrows. And we looked at it and thought, you know what? A parachain slot on Polkadot right now is so affordable. We could basically just buy one and see what happens. So that's what we did. We looked at it. We self-funded a parachain slot auction. We won the slot. And people didn't know who it was. We came out eventually and said, look, it was us. And we held on to it. We waited. Eventually, after a couple of weeks, we were like, you know what? We have the parachain slot here. The assets are extremely numerable on Polkadot. It was Q1 this year. By Q1 this year, there were already so many projects deployed to Polkadot with live assets and live networks that we started to realize, hey, it's going to be very beneficial for us. And you can already see that by the way we were able to connect with Hydra DX. And we were the first parachain asset on Hydra DX. So that's just one example of the liquidity on Polkadot. Yeah. And then the third reason is a marketing reason. We would be at events, we'd be on interviews, we'd be talking, we'd be biz deving, and we'd say we are a blockchain who is secured by the Kusama network, right? If you understand substrate and how it works, we are a parachain secured on the Kusama relay chain. Yep. And people would be like, what is Kusama? And we suddenly realized that everyone knows Polkadot, no one knows Kusama outside of the Polkadot ecosystem.
That's true. Yeah.
And the moment we moved over to Polkadot, it's opened an entire field. When we go to conferences and events now, the moment you say that we are a parachain of Polkadot or a parachain on Polkadot, the moment you mention Polkadot, people immediately take notice. They are a lot more interested. And it's a sad reality of again, human psychology. As you can tell, I'm really interested in things like human psychology. Yeah. And it really is. It's just a sad reality of human psychology. There's just this sort of internal bias of something that they've heard before. They know about Polkadot. They see it in the top 10 of the coin market cap rankings. I haven't seen the latest. It's got a lot of market awareness and brand awareness. So the moment you mention that you're a Polkadot project, it's changed the game. So those three reasons were important to us. So it's made sense. Looking back now, and it's only been 3 or 4 months, we feel justified. We feel like, hey, we made the right decision here. But at the same time, it's a bit of a chicken or egg scenario. It's like, did we contribute to Kusama's current situation where there just aren't as many users? There are less transactions at the moment. There's less governance happening there. Did we contribute to that? I hope not. But, so again, had we stayed, maybe we would have supported Kusama's sort of trajectory. Perhaps that's something that we're not necessarily excited about. When we left to focus on Polkadot, we said we're a huge fan of Kusama. We remain huge fans of Kusama, and we want to see the best way forward for Kusama. But again, that's market dynamics. The market will start to feedback what is best for everyone, and so the best technology will win. The best way for Kusama forward will win, and it'll right itself eventually. It'll correct itself. The ship will balance itself out eventually.
Yeah, this is one of the conversations I had with someone when I went to a recent conference. Another person from the Polkadot eco is that even though a lot of the parachain teams are migrating from Kusama over to Polkadot, the necessity for Kusama is still there when it comes to getting these deployments on there first and then on to Polkadot, like we've seen with OpenGov, for example, which is a very big change. I think it's going to be the same with asynchronous backing, for example. It's, obviously we're going to have the Kusama to Polkadot bridge as well, a bridge hub. There's definitely going to be, a lot of attention towards Kusama at the beginning, but then once the existing update on Kusama is going to go to Polkadot, then the attention tends to switch over. So I think the only way we can ever see Kusama become center of attention again is if something was to happen to Polkadot and that it would get very expensive for somebody to deploy on there, and then that would then give Kusama the opportunity, the gate, it would open the gateway, to bring people back in. But now, given Gavin Wood has spoken about 2.0 and how cores are going to be used, and pay-as-you-go parachains, it's going to be challenging like because it's like, what's the reason for me to go to Kusama now if I can just, pay for as many cores as I need on Polkadot, right? So I think that could possibly hurt Kusama more from that aspect, but Kusama will be needed for Polkadot. I mean, they need it, right? It's just from a parachain perspective. That's what I mean. It's going to be hurt, right? So it's going to be a big challenge. We'll see how things go because anything could happen at the end of the day, right? It's anyone's guess. This is just what we're assuming based on the current situation, but the situation can change. So
yeah, it's going to be really interesting, man. And I'm looking forward to seeing it all unfold, and being part of it and voting in various referenda. It's really important that we all participate in the various referenda going forward, and I found it interesting. I don't know if you saw the tweet by Bruno of Remark. He was like, hey, should I just buy all the KSM I can and take over Kusama? I don't know if he was doing that tongue-in-cheek or if he was a bit of seriousness there, because that would be interesting as well. Like anything is possible, and I'm excited, like you, I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah. It's going to be a challenge, but it's definitely like a lot of us hardcore fans love Kusama, but like you were saying yourself, people from outside the ecosystem are like, yeah, but Kusama is just a testnet, even though it's not really just a testnet, right? We know it's more than that. But just that outside view, trying to convince those people and to explain the whole technological functions behind it and all that, that's always a challenge. But once they understand it, they're like, okay, that seems interesting. It's all about the education and the points of view. So next, I want to talk about some of the challenges that you may have encountered when it comes to developing Zeitgeist.
I think the biggest one is the automated market makers. Those models are very difficult to get right. We have an economic researcher on our team who spends a lot of time just researching various scoring rules and market maker scoring rules. We've had long conversations with Tommy of Mangada, better known as Alice and Bob, and shout out to Tommy as well, because he's really interested in our liquidity pools and the way we provide liquidity in various markets. And so when we first launched, he was jumping on arbitrage opportunities within the various markets. And so that's been a challenge, and it's an ongoing challenge. As I said, we're currently exploring an order book model of liquidity in the various markets. So that's been the biggest challenge by far. The mathematicians on our team have really been hard at work trying to develop the best possible market making scoring rules that benefit both the liquidity providers and the traders, and ensuring the markets run smoothly. So that's been difficult, and we iterate on a regular basis. That's been the biggest challenge for us is liquidity provision and ensuring that everyone benefits. The second one is user attraction and user, we call it user acquisition, but user retention as well. It's a tough one, because is it the amount of markets on our platform? Is it the type of markets? Is it the liquidity on the markets? Is it the way we've set it up? Is it the infrastructure of Web3 in general, right? Like, is it just the way Web3 wallets are structured? Is that why users don't stay on the platform? And when I say users don't stay on the platform, we still have a lot of repetitive and repeat users, but we sort of go through spikes. We run a campaign, or we have a specific market and we get a whole bunch of interest, or we go to a conference like Polkadot Decoded and we talk about our app and everyone jumps on, and then we don't see them again. So we have a sort of stable amount of users, sort of core group of users, but outside of that, we want to grow and then retain that growth. And so we're figuring that out. But again, it's iteration, it's playing with the UI and trying to figure out those little pain points is important to us. We're currently exploring deploying USDT markets, and eventually USDC markets is one way. Another is the ability to purchase assets using a credit card, right? Just making it easy for users to come and, hey, I want to predict on that. I can't predict on how many tornadoes there are going to be in the US tornado season anywhere else in the world. I can only predict it on Zeitgeist. I want to participate, but I don't know how, right? Yeah. Making it easy for someone like that to come onto the app and stay there and make a prediction is important. So those are our biggest ones. And then obviously the compliance with various jurisdictions, the USA being an important one. We have a fantastic legal team who ensure that we remain compliant, and so there's certain things that I'm not allowed to say and certain things that I am allowed to say. But ensuring that we are compliant with the USA, especially because we have a fair amount of our team who originally are from the USA, right? So we have to make sure they're not implicated. And so making sure that there are a whole bunch of compliance checks and balances in place is really important. So I'd say those are our three biggest challenges for us. If we can get those three things right, we are set. We really are. And those are our biggest focuses right now.
It's always good to hear the challenges as well, because, there's no such thing as a perfect project, right? There's always going to be some bottleneck, something, which is causing issues. But the important thing is that you're looking at the ways to fix those, and to overcome them. So next, I want to ask you more about ZTG. You are mentioning how you need to use that, right? When you create the prediction markets, and also when you want to take part in those prediction markets. But you are opening the door to DOT as well, and possibly to other cryptocurrencies, maybe HDX, who knows? You seem to have a good relationship with that team. How do you think that could possibly impact ZTG? Because if you are offering different opportunities, then there's no reason for somebody then to get ZTG to be able to take part in these prediction markets. And at the same time, seeing that you're part of the team at Zeitgeist, like the main intention, in my opinion at least, should be to find a utility for ZTG, which is not going to change, or even if it changes, to not take away the value, if you know what I mean. So to maybe have that necessity to use ZTG. So have you thought of a way to work around that? Like, if you're offering this option, what other way can you incentivize people to need ZTG and to use it?
Yeah, absolutely excellent question, Claudio. That is imperative for us to be thinking about, and we are. It's as you have rightly discovered and logically figured out, it is going to be a challenge for us. If we're suddenly offering markets in DOT, there's much less reason for people to be purchasing ZTG, right? Yeah. And even if we're now exploring paying fees in DOT, now there's less reason for people to have ZTG. So a big one is obviously ensuring that governance is participated in, people participate in governance, so they're holding ZTG. Things like running validator nodes and supporting our network, so locking up ZTG and ensuring that we have a lot of community support there. We are looking at the current inflation rate of the ZTG token on our protocol, so we may reduce that. There's a whole bunch of things that we are looking at. I do want to say we are looking at them. We are figuring it out. For us, it's that balance, the chicken egg scenario. What's more important, the price of your token or the ability for your app to work? Yeah. And I will be honest and say, for us, our focus is our goal is the best possible prediction markets app available in Web3. That's our goal. And we have a number of competitors, right? So we want to beat them. So to beat them, that's got to be our focus. But at the same time, we realize if we just go all in on USDT, USDC, stablecoins, etc., we are leaving ZTG behind, which is our own token. We owe it to ZTG holders to make sure that we're not forgetting our ZTG token, right? And so, yes, we are very much aware of the challenges that come with pursuing alternative assets on our platform, and we're working on those things. So it's not an easy one, I'm not going to lie to you, but it's an economic challenge which is solvable, and we're going to do our best to solve it. That's the best I can say right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's definitely a challenge. I mean, I'm looking at like Nova Wallet, which is the mobile wallet for the Polkadot ecosystem, and Kusama and all of that. Like, it's such an awesome wallet to use. And I always recommend it to people, like, to onboard onto the ecosystem, because you have access to all the different assets. You have access to all the different dApps on there from the comfort of your mobile. So the thing that I'm seeing there is, like, imagine if they had, like, they don't need to have, right, because it is a wallet, but imagine it was like, imagine they needed to have a coin for whatever reason, and then all of a sudden they decided, you know what, let's open the gate to other coins and to offer flexibility to people, which is fine from a user perspective. But from a coin holder perspective, let's say you had like the Nova coin and you initially needed a Nova coin and now you no longer need it. You know, like, what would be the incentive for me to get Nova coin anymore if I don't have to, you know, even though I love the wallet and I use it all the time. So this is basically where I was trying to get at, you know, it's like create that incentive for those coin holders for them to have a reason to believe in the project and to continue using the product and obviously hold the coin, right? So yeah, thank you for explaining that. Now I want to move on to the marketing aspect. This is a challenging one. I know in the Polkadot ecosystem, marketing, and I'm not talking about parity here, because I know there's a lot of pressure on parity to market, and I don't think they should be pressured, because parity's main focus should be to attract developers. They're a layer 0. You need to have the layer 1s on there. Now it's the layer 1's responsibility to market themselves, because you want to bring in the users, right, on your layer 1 platform. So I need to ask you, like, what is your plan to market Zeitgeist to the wider audience aside from the Polkadot ecosystem? So looking at maybe Cosmos, looking at Cardano. I know many Polkadot fans are not usually fans of Cardano, but you know, it is a giant ecosystem with a lot of users. So what is your plan there, if you could please talk about that?
So just to clarify your question, are you saying to market to those communities as well, or just marketing in general?
Crypto in general outside of the Polkadot bubble.
Okay. Yeah. So marketing for us is imperative. You know, like, as I said, we want users on the platform. We want as many people making predictions on the platform as possible. But, you know, we also don't want to market like crazy when the app's not fully developed. Having said that, we believe the app is now stable enough, strong enough, robust enough, and liquid enough to go to market. So we've actually started some marketing. We started running Twitter ads, and we've started running Brave ads. Those are live right now. Brave, of course, the Brave browser is a great way to target Web3 users. If someone has a Brave browser, there's a 95% chance they're already involved in Web3 in some way. Yeah. So we're advertising to people that are in Web3. We aren't too concerned about targeting the Polkadot ecosystem now. For us, as you said, we're a layer 1 blockchain, and for the average user, they don't need to know that we're a Polkadot chain. They don't need to know that we're secured by Polkadot's relay chain, right? They just need to know that we are a decentralized prediction markets application. Come on board. This is how you use it. Obviously, if the deeper they go, they would find out about how we are secured, etc., etc. But for us, our goal is, hey, this is how you use our application. Come and use it. And so targeting anyone in Web3 is your basic next step. Our first step was targeting everyone in the .sama ecosystem. Now we're targeting everyone in Web3. And so at the moment, as I said, it's a couple of Brave ads, which we are those actually only went live about 2 weeks ago. So we're hoping to see some nice growth there. Then we're going to look at things like Coin Market Cap and Coin Gecko, run some banner ads there. Perhaps CoinDesk and Cointelegraph. You got to be very careful with these platforms because they do overcharge. They are fairly overpriced, which is a bit unfortunate. Yeah. Obviously, they're overpriced because they have a premium product, because it's harder for a crypto company to be advertising on Facebook or Instagram, etc. Yeah. I can tell you that our Instagram just got suspended and we only launched it last week. So like the challenges are immense. So we've run Twitter ads, and those Twitter ads have actually been blocked and cancelled because we mentioned things like betting and predictions. And so Twitter obviously didn't like that. So that's why the coin market caps and the coin geckos and the CoinDesk banner ads are more expensive, because they know there's a lot of Web3 companies that can't advertise elsewhere.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we're looking at those. We want to make sure that we don't spend too much of our treasury for that kind of marketing. We want to make sure that we get good ROI on that advertising and marketing. And then events, being at events, going to Polkadot Decoded, going to ETHCC, ETH Denver earlier this year, Token 2049 in Singapore. Those kind of events are really important for us, because being there and having a booth, having swag, things like that is a great way to get in front of Web3 users. So yeah, marketing is currently a very big task for us, which we're working hard at making happen.
Now let's talk about the financial sustainability for Zeitgeist. I mean, this is more of a bear market question. Hopefully we'll come out of the bear market now with the Ripple news. I'm sure everyone heard of that. It's happening now as we're doing this interview. But it's been talked about everywhere on the news, right? So hopefully the bull market will return. But for now, we're still in the bear market. I need to ask, I don't need to know amounts, but just in terms of time frame, how is Zeitgeist doing in terms of financial sustainability? Should there be no income stream with what you already have from the VC funding that you've raised? How long do you think you can sustain to continue those roadmap milestones?
Yeah, I mean, good question. I don't want to speak out of turn, but I can tell you that we are healthy for at least the next 4 years. That's all I want to say. I don't want to go too deep into that, but we're healthy for at least the next 4 years. And that's probably minimum. It's all dependent on market dynamics. Once we go beyond that runway, then for us, things like our business model, collecting fees, the price of ZTG and our treasury, etc., all of those things come into play. But if nothing had to happen, we're healthy for at least 4 years, and that's important. That gives us more than enough runway to really build a business and a project that is sustainable and is useful for thousands of users, hundreds of thousands of users, eventually, hopefully millions of users around the world to be using.
Sounds good. Awesome. That's great to hear. 4 years is pretty healthy in my opinion as well. I mean, most teams can usually do like 1.5 years, maybe 2 years. So congratulations, you guys have nailed it in that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, we are extremely grateful for the support that we've had. I do just want to give a shout out to our investors who have been incredibly supportive, each and every one of them, and they really believe in who we are as a team. They believe in our project, and we're eternally grateful for that support.
Now, is there anything you'd like to share with regards to Zeitgeist that might be coming down the line? Anything you're excited about that maybe the audience wants to hear about?
I think the biggest one for us is, the thing that I'm most excited about at the moment, and I'm just putting it up real quickly, is a project built using our SDK is Zeitgeist. So Zeitgeist was built by a community member. He's known as Daredevil, and he's just, he's built this project called Zeitgeist, which is a sports betting experience, and he's going to be bringing it to market pretty soon. He's already got his Twitter account going. You can follow him, Zeitgeist PM. So the Geist is spelled the same as Zeitgeist. It's SPORTSGEIST PM. And for us, that's what it's all about. People utilizing our technology and building on top of it. Anyone can take our SDK and build a platform for prediction markets or betting or whatever the case may be, and that's what we're really excited about. So that's one example. Our continued, one of the things that I love about the app is our NFT integration. The ability to have an equipable NFT as your profile on the platform. I think your standard betting platforms and your other Web 2 platforms, and you barely even get it on Web 3. So for that, we're looking at really making sure that the NFT aspect of our application rolls out really nicely and continues to generate interest. Another thing is our leaderboard. So that's pretty cool. I'm pretty excited about that. We're actually going to start to see who the big whales are, who makes the most trades, who wins the most predictions.
Wow. Okay.
That's actually live right now in our staging, right? So it'll go to prod pretty soon, and it'll be live within the next 2 weeks or so. So by the time this is probably live on YouTube, it's probably there and available. So that's an amazing thing too, and that's the great thing about on-chain analytics, right? The great thing about decentralized finance on-chain is that we can get all that data, and we can aggregate that data, and we can use that data to see what's happening. And that's the great thing about blockchain. And so yeah, that's it. That's exciting. What else can I say? I think those three things are what excite me the most. As I mentioned, USDC is coming, and we are very, very serious about having the ability to purchase assets using a credit card. So that's also coming soon. We're going to be at Paris next week. So yeah, I mean, Hutch, myself, Yulia are going to be representing Zeitgeist in Paris. So we're excited for that. So that's obviously in conjunction with ECC. And also, what I should say, probably something that I'm personally really excited about, is that we, as a project Zeitgeist, are going to be putting a proposal together to run a big Polkadot event in Cape Town. Here in South Africa. So Cape Town has been voted one of the top 10 cities in the world on a repeated basis. So if you Google the top 10 cities in the world, you'll find that Cape Town comes up repetitively in the top 10 most beautiful cities in the world. So we're excited about putting together an event for the Polkadot community down in Cape Town. So hopefully that all goes through December or January. So we're excited about that. So yeah, I mean, hopefully that's enough alpha for you. Those are the things that I'm personally most excited about. I hope that answers your question, man.
Great. No, it does. Yeah. Thank you very much. It's been really helpful. And you've basically answered a lot of doubts that I've had, and hopefully that the users had as well. So thank you for that. I do have one final question before I close this off, and this is unrelated to Zeitgeist. And that is, what is one thing in life that you truly desire?
That is a great question. I wish I had seen that coming. What is something that I truly desire? Okay. Easy one is to be remembered for inspiring people. So I at heart, I'm a communicator and a writer. And I hope that my work eventually, and I haven't really got down to writing what I want to write. And eventually that will come. So I should probably do that soon. But I hope that my written work, inspires people and leaves a mark on at least a couple of thousand people around the world for generations to come. That's something that I really desire.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, James, and hope you have a nice day. By the way, thank you as well for watching. And if you want to check out Zeitgeist, I'm going to be posting links in the description of this video and also in the pinned comment. Make sure to follow them on Twitter, because a lot of the action is happening there. A lot of the updates, as soon as they're going to post something, it's going to be on Twitter. You don't want to miss it. They also organize Twitter spaces from time to time, right, James? I know that I've joined one a while back, so make sure to join those as well. You get some alpha there. So thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.